Pleasure to speak to you today, Estella from Sulitest, telling us about all the opportunities that we can get involved with as educators and indeed anybody from the business community using Sulitest, the world's largest sustainability literacy test, as I understand it, to bring into our curriculum. So over to you, Estella.
Thank you so much. And yeah, thanks for the invitation. It's always good to be part of Prime. Um, so as the title of the webinar says, we'll do a quick presentation today of what Sulitest is, what are the tools that we offer, and how educators get involved. When it comes to that, how to get involved, I'm going to share mostly different examples of how it could be integrated as part of the curriculum, as part of a study program, as part of an institution, just to give a bit of a practical idea of how those tools can be integrated into teaching and learning. So just before I go into our tools, I thought it would be good to introduce Sulitest. And perhaps before that, I should introduce myself. My name is Estella, and I work as account manager at Sulitest. So I support the institutions that are part of our community in the rollout of the tools, not only on the platform side of things, but also thinking about deployments, thinking about communications with students, thinking about what do we do with the results of those tools. Um, and I've been with Sulitest for the last 6 years, but Sulitest has been around for over a decade working in the higher education space. And Sulitest was created to mainstream sustainability literacy, to ensure the students graduating of all programs share a good common understanding of what sustainability is. And we do that by providing online tools that are measuring and improving this sustainability literacy. So we offered tools, and I'm going to present all the tools that we have. And most recently, we launched Task, which is the assessment of sustainability knowledge. We launched it in 2023, and this is today our flagship tool. And but they can all kind of fit together as part of a learning journey about sustainability. And but yeah, I will talk about all of the tools, but perhaps a little bit more focus on Task as it is our leading tool for now. And since this assessment was launched a little bit over 2 years ago, we actually had over 60,000 assessments completed, which is a really good database of what do students know about sustainability. And we have a diverse group of 100 institutions from over 20 countries. Some of them are using it at a small scale, some of them are using it at a big scale. But it's really interesting to start getting this data, and even annually we do publish an annual report sharing some of those trends, and it's quite an interesting read to see, what do students of different majors perhaps know more or less of. And something that is very core to the story of Sulitest is just collaborating with the academic community. Sulitest was created, within the higher education space, and we keep collaborating. So we've been collaborating with Prime for many, many years, and but also with the stakeholders that I guess are part of all of our work. Even when we worked on developing Task and really defining what do we mean by sustainability knowledge, so we can assess it. That definition was done in consultation with a lot of academic stakeholders. So we're not necessarily duplicating work or rewriting the script. Is part of what institutions might already be doing, which also means that then Task is recognized by those bodies. So some of our tools are recognized, for instance, by QS and Times Higher Education, or can be used as part of AACSB reporting, for example. So all right, so this is what Sulitest is, sharing a little bit what our tools are. And I try to put them all into one slide, which might be a bit much, but we'll go little by little. What is important is that, as I mentioned before, our tools are designed to improve sustainability literacy. So that's one side of our offer. And then the other side is to assess sustainability knowledge. So starting on the improving sustainability literacy, the first tool that Sulitest has launched is called the awareness test. This is designed to be a formative test, so it's to raise awareness. It's not an assessment, it's to raise awareness. And that is done through 28 multiple choice questions that after students answering to each question, they'll get a feedback explaining what it is so that they can, the idea is that participants are learning as they go through the questions and the feedback. It's really nice because it's asynchronous. It's a bit easier to deploy. Like it's easy to deploy. You can just send it out to students. They're going to get questions about different areas of sustainability, environmental and social, and is broadening their understanding of what sustainability means. For the awareness test, there is also the option of adding customized modules to it, in case you want to add a specific business module or something like that. And with Prime UK in the past, before I joined Sulitest, I think it was around 2016, we also developed with the Prime community a UK module. So it was about bringing sustainability a bit closer to home and having some specific questions about the UK. That module hasn't been necessarily updated. I think that was an update, but it hasn't been updated as of recently. And but it is still available there if it's interesting. And then the other tool that we have to raise awareness is called the quiz. Similar idea is multiple choice questions with a feedback that's going to come at the end. The difference here is that the quiz is a little bit shorter. You have a choice to choose between different sets of questions, and that ranges between 6 questions to 10 questions. The purpose is similar, that participants are learning as they go through the questions and feedback. And the difference is that the quiz is interactive. So while the awareness test students would do it at home, the quiz, you would do that in the classroom or in an event. I think the first Prime conference I did in Hull, I used the quiz in that conference just to give a practical idea of what Sulitest is, what are the tools that we're talking about. So it's quite nice because you can split students into groups and it can be, 6 to 10 questions. That's going to take you no more than 15 minutes. You can ask them different questions about sustainability. There's a sense of competition because as students answer, they're adding points to their team. And so it's a dynamic activity. It's fun, it's playful, and it works as an icebreaker. We often call the quiz as our icebreaker. So we offered the awareness test and the quiz for many, many years, and I think that's what a lot of the Prime community has. Maybe some people in your institutions may have tested those tools, but we increasingly felt the need, and we were asked to have something more robust, the awareness test was interesting, but it was good to have something comparable, something that is more comprehensive, and something that is that it could really work not only as a formative test, but as a summative test, as an assessment of knowledge. And so in 2023, we launched Task. Task then acts as this comprehensive assessment of sustainability knowledge. So we have more questions. It has 112 multiple choice questions that then are answered within a limited time frame. So for the awareness test, students can start, stop, go somewhere else. For Task, it works as an exam. So they have 80 minutes to complete it. Reasonable accommodation can be offered if needed. Normally they would have 80 minutes to complete it. And it still can be done asynchronously to make sure it's easy to offer. But those 112 questions, they aren't necessarily random. They follow a structure, which we call the matrix, the Sulitest Sustainability Knowledge Matrix, which are different subjects and different kinds of questions that we ensure that every single assessment will cover, which means that the results are then comparable. Those comparable results are really good so that you can either be comparing programs or faculties if you're using that at the university level. You can see what are perhaps the knowledge gaps from the faculty of engineering compared to the faculty of business, or even within the business program, you could be comparing students from different programs. To share an example here, I'm not sure if I added that later in the slides, but feel it's relevant to share at this point. But one of the universities in our community, they did Task with their final year students in the business school. They only use it in the business school. They did it as part of their internship module that for them, all of their bachelor students have to take it. And then they took a look at the students that scored the highest. Is there a trend between them? Is there a pattern? And they actually found that those students were often enrolled in a few specific electives, which then means that those electives were really helping students to develop better their sustainability knowledge. They were able to, comparing the students, identify what is working best from their program. And then now the school is having internal discussions of, all right, how can we, if that is working well, how can we get more students to go through those courses? And or what can we, replicate from those elective courses in the core curriculum modules? So it's really good because it's offering, again, that comparability. You can compare different programs. You can see what is working best and use that as part of the institution's, I guess, effort to improve how do students know and learn about sustainability. And the comparability is also really nice because you can do that at different points of the student journey. So at pre and post testing, entry and exit testing, which I'll discuss more in a little bit. Because of that comparability, Task is also offering a certificate for the students. So that is really nice, especially if students don't have a sustainability specific degree. They can then get a certificate that is stating their sustainability knowledge. It's not a pass or fail. It's stating their score that they had in the assessment. So all students will get that certificate. So the core of Task is the assessment, and an assessment is working as perhaps a third party or an external assessment from what students would be learning about sustainability through the courses that your school is offering. Task itself doesn't have specific training. I'm saying that because I know that some schools are familiar with the carbon literacy program, which is a really good initiative and can be complementary to Task. But Task is really that it was launched to really support the university to also have that comparable tool and that diagnostic for its own curriculum, not as an external activity, but for its own curriculum, for you to have an assessment of sustainability knowledge and use that either to both certify the students, to get comparable data to inform curriculum, and also to use that as part of ranking and reporting and so on. But we do have, as part of the Task package, some tools that are meant to help a little bit students get more familiar with it, because we know that curriculum change takes time. We know that perhaps reframing, revising strategy takes time. So we wanted to also offer tools that make that dissemination a little bit easier. One of those tools is called the Intro to Task, which is a compilation of videos and curated videos and resources to introduce students to the subjects covered in Task. So it's a link you can share with students. The resources in Intro to Task are structured in 4 different parts, and students can go through them to just get a better sense of what Task covers. Task, for instance, will cover the planetary boundaries and that environmental side of things that perhaps business school students aren't that familiar with. But one of the parts of Intro to Task is introducing some of those themes. So it's helping them just get a little bit more comfortable with that vocabulary, which is really good. It will take around 6 hours if students are going through all videos and all resources of Intro to Task. So it's a good amount. It's not we can't guarantee that you're going to learn everything about sustainability in 6 hours, but it is a really good prep that can be offered to students. And then the other resource or feature that is coming into the Task package, and that is actually a new feature that will be beta tested at the end of this year and then for launch next year, is study guides. The idea of the study guides is that after students get their Task results, they're gonna get an insight into what they know more of and less of, and then what's next? What can they learn about those different subjects? And that's why the study guides were designed. They're going to just share some insights, a definition, some learning objectives of, okay, if you scored low on gender equality, this is what it means. This is what we would encourage you to learn about gender equality. And then you would have a selection of curated resources where students can learn more about that. So it's really good, and it's really tailored to their level. So if they scored very low, they're going to get more basic resources and definitions. If they scored highest, they're going to get resources to deepen their knowledge on that. So it's really good. Again, Task is really designed to help, a tool to offer value not only for the students, but for the institution. But all the tools are also supporting really the students' experience. Just clarifying as well kind of how we package those tools. The awareness raising tools, our original older tools, the awareness testing quiz, they're offered free of charge, so any institution can try using them. task is on a subscription basis usually, but it can also be done per unit, so per assessment. The subscription can be either at the level of the institution, and that can be the business school or the university, or it can be at the level of a program. So if you have a specific bachelor's or a specific master's program, you could also get a subscription for that. Just for transparency, sharing how we structure those two sides of our offering. So just sharing some insights into, I guess, how task works. Again, by offering the assessment, you can analyze the sustainability knowledge of a cohort. So you can have some benchmarking, you can identify the subjects that the assessment covers, where students scored the highest on or the lowest on. You can also see results per SDG, as I know that that's a used language within the business schools, and also have breakdowns per subject. So I didn't want to do a deep dive into how the platform looks like, but I did want to just give you an insight on what kind of insights we are offering after students take a task. And then again, we are offering that not only for the university, so this is what the university or the business school would be seeing. But similarly, we offer that to the candidates. So the candidates themselves can see how do they score, how do they compare, what are the things that they know more of and scores the best on, and what are the subjects that they can improve. If they take in task more than once, which is what we do encourage, they can also see how they progressed. And they can use that, and beyond having the results, they have their certificate, and they can use that to share on LinkedIn. And it's really good. We're often tagged in those posts, and it's really good to see students sharing their certificate and sharing also their intentions in working in the space, which is always really nice. I mentioned sustainability subjects a few times, so I just wanted to clarify a little bit about what task is about, what our tools are about, what kind of sustainability we're covering. And that just stems also from how we view sustainability. So we believe that all individuals should know and understand the planetary boundaries, so the environmental side of things, the main foundations of human welfare, so things like gender equality, education, justice, and poverty, and so on, and the multiple interconnections between these dimensions. So that for us was also very important. If you are familiar with the donut economics framework, this is where we also took a lot of inspiration from. And you can see that then that we have the environment, the planetary boundaries and the social foundation. But for us, it was very important to also have how do we get people in that safe space? What are our levels of opportunity? What are the forces that are interacting in sustainability? So things like governance, economy, business, science, which I think is really good, especially for business school students, because that I think is a vocabulary that they're hearing a lot of. So we do have that as part of the assessment as well. And I think I always like to reinforce that task is about sustainability as a common language. Yes, there are going to be subjects that not everyone's familiar with. That's normal, but we are also not digging deep into special expert level sustainability environmental information. So it is relevant for all students, students not only of business schools but also other different disciplines as well. So again, we are talking about the environmental side of sustainability, not only climate, but also biodiversity and things like that, and the social aspect of it as well. So it's really, I guess, complementary to other initiatives that some business schools are doing, like carbon literacy or climate fresque, because we're taking a step further and also talking about social justice, in human welfare, etc. Is there any questions on? I know we said any question kind of Q&A at the end, but is it clear what the tools are before I move on into how they can be used? Yes, all good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Perfect.
lovely. So just sharing some ideas, I guess, in how they can be practically integrated into a course or into a program. Starting maybe with the awareness raising tools, so the awareness test and the quiz, what we see from our community a lot is that they are used before or during student orientation to raise awareness and share, your institution's commitment to sustainability education. I know that the University of Worcester has been doing that for many, many years, sending, even before students come in, sending them an awareness test invitation. Some schools can do the quiz in student orientation events. So that's always an idea. And also that could be done at the start of a course as well. So if there is a specific introduction to business management, and Alison will probably talk about that because that's where she used the awareness test, it is a really good opportunity to, again, broaden student understanding of sustainability. And or also you can do that as part of an institution-wide survey. This is what Exeter has done a couple of years ago using the awareness test as part of institution-wide, taking the pulse of, raising awareness about sustainability, but also using that as a vehicle to include your own survey questions through that customization that I mentioned. The customization of the awareness test and quiz is part of the premium version of the awareness test and quiz, which does have a fee, but it is a possibility as well. And so this is, I guess, what we mostly see for the awareness tools. And, as part of a course itself, there are different activities that you can do with it, not only offering the awareness test, but perhaps offering the awareness test and having a reflection and things like that, which is similar also to some of the suggestions we have for tasks. So I'll share that now. As I mentioned, task is a comparable assessment, and you can use that in that longitudinal way. And this is what we normally recommend, that you can do task in year one, once students start their program, and before they graduate. Before they graduate, again, they will hopefully have more knowledge, they would have the experience with the tool, they have a better certificate, they are looking for jobs, and that is a really good, I guess, micro-credential that they can add to their CV. Throughout their student experience, they're having sustainability in different courses and extracurricular activities. And that is also what task is helping you assess how well that is working. Is that, perhaps, as I mentioned before, different courses or different activities that are showing to have a better positive impact on the students. So that's what we normally recommend of doing task as an entry and exit assessment, and comparing that to see are there any notable differences between cohorts? What has been the subjects that have progressed the most? Is there any subject within the definition of sustainability I was sharing before that students perhaps didn't progress, and that is a priority for you and you would like them to? That is the kind of insight that task can help you find. But that is kind of at the level of a program, and I think especially with the prime community and when we have the language of I5 and initiatives like that, it's very important that we're making that experience meaningful for students. Task itself, I think just being asked all these different questions about sustainability is already broadening what you understand of sustainability, is already helping them be like, whoa, I didn't realize that's part of the conversation. But it is, there are so many things to consider when we're talking about sustainability. And there are subjects that students are going to be very familiar with, there are students that they aren't going to be very familiar with, but there is a lot of value in even just having, asking those questions and realizing what we know and what we don't know, especially. But I think for students to really realize that value and that insight, is very important to create the space in which they can have those reflections, or you could have those reflections with the students. So I always like to encourage task to be followed by another sort of activity. Even a simple debriefing the results of students, you can identify what they scored highest or lowest on, and then discuss how is it connected to the discipline, how those different subjects connect to the discipline. You could encourage reflection. Again, you can create space for that within the classroom in a debrief or even in a reflective essay. There are different frameworks there which you could use, which are really nice. Also, to help participation rates as well. If task is offered as a volunteer activity, students might not always have the incentive to complete it, but if you're able to build in a reflective essay assignment, then they have to complete task in order to complete that assignment. of a specific course. So it also has that value of ensuring that you're getting students completion. And another example we see a lot is also peer learning in our community, which is really good as well for students to, you can invite them into teams, and then you can get them to look into what those different subjects are. If they scored low on gender equality, look into that and present that to the classroom, and it promotes that active participation and the active learning and make it meaningful for them because they really put effort into it as well. Just saying some other examples, and then I'll pass the ball to Alison, as she can, I guess, share better than me for sure from first-hand experience. But other initiatives using Task include voluntary extracurricular sustainability badges. If you can't put that as part of the curriculum, extracurricular activities work well. This is what Constantina from Liverpool John Moores University is doing in her business school. We also see sometimes if they can't get a subscription for a course, some institutions just get a few assessment vouchers, as we call it, to sample and compare different programs. So do it as part of a sample representative of the cohort. And also as part of accreditation. So one of the schools in our community, we're writing a case study together now. They recently redid the rubric of their programs, and they have a global and sustainable awareness competency as part of their programs. And then Task is actually the assurance of learning tool for that competency, which is really good because is, I guess, easily quantifiable and is easy to deploy and is easy to get that insight back. And again, he also promotes that competency throughout the programs. And that just ties back to the purpose of why we did Task, which is to, one, enable you to certify students, to provide them that recognition on sustainability knowledge, to analyze and inform curriculum and also extracurricular learning, and to help you demonstrate impacts to ranking and accreditation body. I know that this webinar was a bit short, so if anyone has any questions, I am, of course, very happy to continue the conversation. And now I'll let Alison share her screen. And with Alison, we've been known each other for many, many years, and Alison has been using Task in Sussex, and but it'd be really good that you hear directly from her on how that experience is.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Estella. Okay, so can you see my screen before I start?
Yes.
Fantastic. That's lovely. Thank you. So, yes. We introduced the Sustainability Knowledge Certificate some time ago. I'm just trying to put it onto slideshow. Let's see if I can go onto slideshow. There we go. And yes, so we've been working with Sulitest for some time. And if I'm just trying to get my slides to work now, here we go. And why Task, why Sulitest, why the awareness test? Well, sustainability is a huge part of the University of Sussex strategy. And obviously, we could see from the quotes on the slide that changing attitudes is so important for students. And I used to teach financial accounting students, and I would talk to them about sustainability, and they just weren't interested at all. It was about profit, and it made me so fed up, actually, having these conversations about doing things in a better way with the would-be leaders who are going out, or the accountants or the financial experts who are going into the world, that I just thought we actually need to do better. So then when I moved into management, we ran a business simulation, and we just happened to come across Estella in Sulitest, and we thought, brilliant, this is wonderful. Everything that they're about is exactly what we want to put through our course. So our strategy is to become one of the most sustainable universities in the world. We have a new faculty just starting within the university called Progressive Futures, which has one whole strand of it is about sustainability, environmental sustainability as well. So it's a very exciting time. So what I did, I was a module convener for a year one introduction to business module, and we had anything up to 700-800 students on that module. And the module was split into two parts. So in the first half of the semester, students were taught theory. In the second half of the semester, students actually applied that theory to a business simulation. And what we wanted students to do was to think about sustainability and other issues, and it was really difficult to get them to think about that. So we introduced the awareness test for students to take, and it was actually really useful because it did encourage students to think about sustainability. We had the core awareness test, but we had the UK module added on as well, which made it very relevant for the students. They did find it hard in terms of the time they had to take the test and the number of questions, but I think they got a lot out of taking the test, and certainly some students did include sustainability a little more in the presentations that they gave at the end of the module when they were presenting their business simulations back to us. So it was quite successful, and we did do this for quite a considerable amount of time, and we allocated students 10% to encourage them to take the awareness test, and it obviously did encourage them to do it, but it was just in my module. However, we had complaints from students, and this happened year on year, and this was the biggest complaint. They wanted a certificate because, you know, the awareness test was quite a robust test. It's quite fun, but it was quite a robust test, and they wanted something to show for it. And the fact that we were talking so heavily about sustainability, they just felt that they just wanted more. So when the task certificate became available, we entered into negotiations with Sulitest in April 2023 to procure the certificate. It did take quite a long time. If you're going to, procure the certificate for your university, you do need to put time aside. You know, you can't do it quickly. There are lots of issues you have to think about, GDPR, those sorts of issues. It did take us quite a while, but as I said, we started in April, we got it in November, and that we got it on the Monday, and I think I was running it on the Wednesday. And, you know, it was really popular because students at the end of the day got a certificate. It was what they wanted. So what has happened so far? We have had to date 2,071 certifications, and that was as of 2 days ago. We've only got it in the business school. We haven't got it in the whole of the university, and we are a change leader. We were the first university to enter into delivering tasks with Sulitest way back then. So students do know about it. They do want it. They're very, very keen to have it. I get a lot of emails throughout the week asking for me to either go in and present to different modules about what Sulitest and task is, to set up tests, all sorts of things. I get students who are due to graduate or leave the university say, I need the task certificate, I need it now, I need it to be on my CV, I'm going out to get jobs, because we do promote it very, very heavily as an employability certificate. So after the task certificate being made available in my module in November 2023, the goal was to actually embed it across the whole of the business school. And it has been quite a task. It is now embedded in PG modules, ODL modules, MBA, you can see on the screen. When students take task in year one, they have to take it in year three as well as part of the agreement we have. That's how task works. The students must take task in year three, and we have to have 75% of the students at least. Really, we're aiming for 100%, but at least 75% of the students must take task. And as Estella pointed out, the advantage of doing that is we're able to track the development of sustainability knowledge of the students, and students can track it, we can track it. It allows us to change teaching resources, approaches to the way we do things. So it's particularly useful for us as well. And the learning resources that are available on the Sulitest site, the intro to task, are really useful for the students to prepare. I think when it's when you say to a student, you will have a certificate and your grade will be on it, that's when they sort of think, oh, actually, I need to prepare for it. And they do generally. So that's quite nice. It's also nice for the staff to go through as well. I'm going to be really looking forward to seeing the student guides, the guides that are coming out in January, to see how they work. How we've embedded this through the business school is we have allocated grades. So if a module is running through 2 semesters, we have allocated 10%. If a module is just a 15 credit module, we allocate 5%. And I have it was quite a task, because we had to work out which modules were core modules, which courses didn't have core modules, and we had to embed it very carefully. It was a huge task. It took quite a long time, and with a lot of people involved. At Sussex, and as is the same everywhere, we cannot assess or give marks to the same assessments. So there was obviously the risk that some students would take it in one module, and then there could be allocation of marks in another module for it. So we've had to embed it in a very careful way. But I have a task canvas site, which you can see on the right-hand side, which all of the students are allocated to. All of the instructions are on the task site, as well as the joining instructions as well. When a course or a module wants to take the task certificate, I generally set it up for them, and I send out an information sheet to the module convener with a license code on. The students must have their unique license for that particular test, and then that is circulated within that particular cohort, and then they can access task. So the complexities that we have at the University of Sussex is about, I suppose, awarding the credit. We cannot duplicate credit for the same assessment. How we've had to do that is we've had to think very carefully about different modules, and we've said, okay, the students are going to take task, but you have to attach an assessment to task which isn't the students taking task. So for example, some of our students in a PPD module, they are asked as part of their assessment to download the certificate and include it in their portfolio of evidence, and they'll get a % for that. Another module has asked students to write a reflective piece, I think it's about 500 words, on an aspect of task that related to their course. And another module had a multiple choice test that was developed about the task certificate, and students had to complete that. So there are different things, different ways that students have actually attached an assessment to task, or the conveners have attached an assessment to task. So you have to be really careful and quite creative if you're going to embed it across the whole of a business school, in how you do that. It's easy for me in year 1, because in year 1, it only is in my module. My module is a core module, and pretty much all the students come into that core module. But as you get to year 3 and the PG modules, it can become more complex. In PG, the students take task in their research modules, and then we can avoid the overlap in those. So that works quite well. Year 3 is where the huge amount of complexity has happened. So that was one problem, and something you would really have to think very carefully about. I think the other thing as well is staff awareness, getting staff across the business school to understand what task is. And Sulitest are amazing. If you decide to embed task, and I strongly recommend you do, Sulitest, Estella will come in either in person or on Zoom meetings or team meetings, to staff meetings or whole school meetings, to discuss task and promote it. And that is a really useful thing to actually take up. I think having Stell talk about what task is and the rationale really does get the message across. It's not just, oh, it's Ali Bailey trying to do something else. It's more, it's taken more seriously, and staff really understand that it is actually a rigorous assessment, an employability assessment, an employability certificate as well, and really important for accreditation. So definitely do that. I mean, we've had a lot of teaching and learning days across the university, in the business school and more generally, and we have had a lot of talks about task. I've gone to a lot of departments and a lot of mini conferences to promote task again, and I think it is only, I suppose, in the last 6 months, I've actually had staff email me and say, I really would like to run task. Can you tell me how we can do it? And can we have a meeting? On Monday, I was asked to go into another module's lecture to, again, talk to the students about task. And they were very keen to take it, which I was really pleased to hear. And they had lots of questions about it. It wasn't me just talking to them and they weren't particularly interested. They were very, very interested in it, these postgraduate students. So it is a good thing. We've done a lot of promotion. We've had a huge amount of information in newsletters, on screens across the business school, promoting task as well. And I think the message has finally got out there. Task is very, very well known in the business school, and I'm inundated with emails, quite literally, from students asking for task. Yesterday, I had an email. It was something like 11:45 at night. I know, and I'm a sad person. I was looking at my emails at 11:45 at night, and it was from a student saying, I would like to take task. I've taken it before. I didn't get a great score. I would like to redo it. Can you set me up with a test? And absolutely, of course. We do set up tests in assessment periods, but if a module convener comes along and says, look, I would like my students to take task, I will set up a test out of an assessment period as well. And then if students say to me, oh, I took task and I didn't do very well, can I do it again? Absolutely. We're not fixed about that. That's absolutely fine. Students can take task when they want to take task. We want to encourage students to take task. So I'm more than happy to set tests up. And our alumni, not a huge amount. We want more, to be quite honest. Our alumni take tasks. So Estella emails all institutions and offers tasks to alumni as well. And that's quite nice too. So I suppose that's where we are with task at the moment. We're coming up to our final year, year 3. Well, I say our final year. Of course, it's not our final year, but we had a contract for 3 years. So we're coming up to year 3, and it will be interesting to see quite where we are. I think it's been incredibly valuable for the students. It's been very valuable for staff. It's raised awareness of sustainability more generally across the business school. I know we're all busy. We're all teaching modules where we're building sustainability in, but it really has brought the conversation to the fore. So I think it's invaluable personally. So I have a very quick talk. I'm sorry about that. If anyone is interested in embedding task, please email me. I can have a conversation with you or send you information about it. Okay, I think that's me done. I will unshare my screen.
Thank you both so much. So informative. That I came into this thinking that I knew about Sulitest, and I have learned so much and been absolutely inspired, particularly hearing about the application at Sussex. I will stop the recording so that we can have a more of an informal chat, but I'm sure that's very useful to anyone who's catching up with this post-live event.